Hello, everybody. I'm here with Samuel Gordon, also known as I'm a Pretty Cool Guy. Is it Pretty Cool Guy or Pretty Cool Dude?
Pretty cool dude.
Pretty Cool Dude on Instagram, creator of Viscid playing cards. He's got the deck there representing. Um, so really happy to have you here. Let's start off, just jump into things. I think what people would really like to hear about is the process of starting your own Kickstarter, making your own playing cards, and kind of get into the details of how difficult or easy or however it feels to do that.
Yeah. Um, I mean, like most people, um, when I thought about making a deck, pretty early on in Cardistry, I had that desire to do that. Um, but it was a very long process of actually coming up with a design that I was happy with and a concept that I wanted to kind of build a brand around. Um, so Flux, like the brand, um, the idea for the brand came about after probably a year of brainstorming different ideas, and then the deck idea soon followed for this sort of weird, drippy grime art style. Um, but that was still probably so that all came about in January 2019, and then the deck launched in January 2020. So it was about a year of brainstorming and then about a year of actually developing the design and getting the production details in order before I actually launched it. Um, and that was probably the hardest part, just having to wait and keep working at it for so long.
Mhm.
And I think that that's something that a lot of new creators or just independent creators will have to deal with, is the having to work through all of those little steps from the beginning. Yeah.
So how did the design kind of get like? Was there inspiration from anything? Did you really want to have like this drippy type of deck, or?
Yeah. So there is a music video I watched from Getter. He's a like techno artist. I really enjoy some of this stuff. But then one of his music videos, an artist named De La Deso um, was the animator on it, and he uses a grime art style. Um, and so that was like sort of the main inspiration for it. I was like, hey, what if we put this onto a deck of cards, work the concept in? Um, so then I started doing like some um, grime style portraits where you kind of put the gooey drippy design over portraits of people. Um, and then while I was doing that, I was designing the deck and just trying to find the best way to include that into the design. And so that's kind of how we ended up with sort of like the drippy court cards and stuff, and having those be sort of that same kind of drippy kind of portrait style. Um, so yeah, definitely heavily inspired by De La Deso's work and stuff. Um, and yeah, I'm just happy with the way it came together with all that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think the back design especially I really like. When you were going to design this, did you decide like I'm gonna go all in, I'm gonna do the face cards and the pips and all that and make that custom, or did that kind of was that secondary, or were you just planning on doing a back design? That makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I think one of the things I really have always appreciated with cardistry decks is when creators take the full step to do face designs and back designs. I think you can definitely have a good deck with standard faces, but I love the extra effort when people put that in for the face designs, and I think that's something that can easily just set your deck apart. So that was definitely a must have with my design.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you're gonna make a deck, you should do something really unique and really go all the way in.
Mhm.
I feel like a lot of uh, brands or just Kickstarters in general just focus on a back design and not really focus as much on the face cards. So I think it's really awesome that you made every face card personalized and in that style that's similar to the back. Makes it feel really cohesive.
Thank you.
So once you had the design down, how long did you like market it until you actually dropped the Kickstarter?
Yeah. So I was working on getting the main design down for about 6 months. So I got this deck in about July 2019. This is just a prototype of it, because the final deck is actually printing very soon. But so that took me like about 6 months, and then from there I started kind of posting videos with it. So I started the reveal uh, at near the end of the summer, right before Cardistry Con last year. And then from there, just doing different shorter videos with it. And then we started marketing in earnest, probably December of 2019, leading up to the Kickstarter that launched on the 1st of 2020. And when I say we, I also have a partner. His name is Daniel Newton. He does design work. He designed the box for the deck. So he also helped with doing photography and video for everything. But then with that, I also reached out to a lot of friends in the community, like DK Magician, Caitlin Chen, Small Hand Things. And so there were a lot of people that were willing to help out, and I sent them like prototypes of the deck, and they were able to post a few videos during the campaign and stuff, which was really helpful as well. And then also with the idea with marketing for the trailer, there were also a lot of friends who were willing to help out with that. We got two of my friends who make music. NDK is one of them, and then Toka are two of the artists were able to help with that, and then Elliot Slevin did some video. So yeah, so in short, the marketing process was pretty much everything from Cardistry Con in Portland until January of 2020. But then the main bulk of it was that month leading up to the Kickstarter to try to build as much hype for it as we could. But on the note of marketing, especially during the campaign itself, almost every day I was putting out some new form of content that I could come up with for the campaign on a multitude of platforms. A lot of people can probably think of like some random post that they saw of this on Facebook, on random Facebook magic groups, or like random Reddit groups that I put it on. So just trying to get the word out there. But it's definitely not easy running marketing for a Kickstarter campaign when you're not really well connected in the community. I've been in the community for quite a few years at this point. Not as much as you, but in terms of, I've been doing it since like high school, so it's been at least 5 years. So I've got a lot of friends, but in terms of the general scope of cardistry, I'm not a mainstream cardist in any sense. There are probably a lot more people who don't know me than who do in the cardistry community. So it's very difficult trying to get your name out there, or the brand's name rather, and presenting it to people in a way that they can see it, kind of see the work that you put into it, and totally appreciate that enough to back it.
Yeah, so I think right now, especially, there's such a over influx of custom playing cards of like individual designs that I think there's definitely some decks are getting mixed up in the shuffle, especially when you have these smaller deck runs or Kickstarter. So it is, I would imagine it would be hard to try to get your name out there when there's already these huge, established brands like Anyone and Fontaine. So trying to break through that is probably very difficult.
Yeah. And I think, to what you said, there are a lot of, I mean, there have been for years. Like I remember back when I started that there were still a lot of decks that would pop up and fall and like wouldn't be successful or would be. And I think there will always be sort of a lot of low effort kind of decks and campaigns that come through. And not to discredit those per se, I think that those decks have a place, and I think if they aren't successful, well, if they are, that's awesome. But if they're not, I think people just need to go back to the drawing board and rework the deck and try again. But my hope was that I would be able to put out this deck that I had put a lot of time into, and just kind of share it for what it was. I didn't try to glamour up the campaign a whole lot in the sense of trying to oversell it. I wanted people to kind of see it for just for what it was. And I hoped that would kind of separate me from the just general, like, more low effort sort of designs that can come out. And it wasn't enough to get it successful this first time. So I'm very happy and thankful for that. But yeah, I think there will always be a lot of sort of quick designs coming in and out of the market. The goal is just to be the voice above that if you can.
Yeah, to try to have something unique about you.
Mm-hmm.
So you start the Kickstarter. About how long does it take for you to fund? Was there ever like a worry that it wouldn't be completely funded?
Oh yeah, that was dude. That whole month, I was so anxious. Because like it would have been fine if it wasn't successful. It's not like this is my entire life, but it was something that I put a lot of time into. My friends have put a lot of time into, so I really wanted it to be successful, and it wasn't fully successful until I think 2 days before the campaign ended. And like we didn't get like massively over our goal, which I'm fine with that. I'm just so glad it was successful. So yeah, I was so nervous, and that's why I was putting so much time into trying to put the word out about it everywhere. Just because I was like, I need to put in so much work for this. So definitely the edge of my seat the entire month of January. It's crazy.
Yeah, I can imagine putting a whole lot of effort into something and wanting it to pay off. Mm-hmm. Especially when you're doing something in the creative space.
Yeah.
So what were some of the things you used to incentivize people to buy more decks instead of just the singular?
Yeah. So on the Kickstarter, the rewards were, I think the single, I called it I think the diptych, which it was 2 decks, and then 4 decks, and then I think a half brick, and then a brick. So those are kind of the tiers. So I was hoping that maybe people would go for 2 instead of 1, and maybe go with that. The majority were a lot of single deck sales, which is great. And then with the base campaign, I also tried my best to lower the price of the deck. So it wasn't easy doing that. And there were definitely a lot of places where I just tried to get it the lowest price as possible. So with working with different brands, I was able to do that. Because I definitely didn't want a deck. I wanted to keep it below $15. And then I also wanted to make shipping really affordable. So with Gambler's Warehouse, they were just the best option with that. I've seen like OPC use them. A lot of other Kickstarter campaigns have used them, and they're always really fast and reliable. And then also their rates are pretty good. And they've been great to work with. And they've also been great with just giving sort of guidance on the campaign and the logistics since then too. So that's been really great. And then when it comes to sort of stuff I added to the campaign as we went. One thing I offered to backers was a tutorial pack. So I taught 7 of my original moves. So if you bought 2 decks, you got tutorials for 2 of my moves. If you bought the 4-pack, you got 4 of my moves. The 6-pack had 6 of my moves, and then a full brick had 7 of my moves. So those were sort of little incentives to, if you wanted to like upgrade your package, or if you wanted to, or reward tier rather, or I'm also going to offer those sort of with the extra stock we have after printing. I'm going to have those up for sale and have the tutorials with it as sort of like for supporting it. Like, so yeah, it was an incentive, but also I wanted to make it to sort of thank people also who were backing the campaign, because I figured that was a small thing I could do to say thank you in addition. And it was really nice to be able to get that out, those tutorials out. I think I did that about a month ago, and it was nice to kind of touch base with a lot of people in just sending those back out after the campaign, which was nice.
That's cool. So the Kickstarter ends. How much more work did you have to do to get it to the point where, obviously Corona's going on right now and they haven't actually gotten out yet? How much more work is it afterwards as it was during and before the Kickstarter?
Yeah. It was definitely a breath of fresh air after the Kickstarter, work-wise, because everything just kind of like, it's like you're working, then you're successful, and then like it ends and you can kind of take a deep breath. The process after that though, so for me, I had to make the tutorials that I mentioned, but then with the deck itself, you have to send your designs to USPC, and then for me, I had to reformat the deck to put it into the correct formatting they wanted in the Illustrator file. And then from there, we hit a brick wall because the USPC factory kind of shut down for Corona. And so then when they reopened a few weeks ago, they sent me the digital proofs for the deck, which is sort of a layout of an uncut sheet, essentially, of both sides, what it's going to look like, and then also the box design. And then I had some feedback on that, so I gave that to them, and they made the little edits for me. And then they sent me the physical proofs for it, which is just a printout of those uncut sheets. Do you want me to grab those and show you?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Got you. So it's essentially, if you've seen uncut sheet, it looks a lot like that. So this is the one for the box design they sent. And so that's just the layout of that. And then here's the back design proof. And then the face designs.
It's cool.
So I had, with this, I think I had just one edit that I needed changed before the final print. And so now they have that, and we're going to be doing the final print very soon, which I'm really excited about. But yeah, so they send that it's on a different stock than a card stock. It's like a smooth kind of thick weighted paper. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's pretty much the whole process for actually working with USPCC. But yeah, they've been really nice. The custom team is super awesome, really helpful. And yeah, like I said, Gambler's Warehouse has also been great at kind of helped me with it as well. So definitely a lot of help on the actual production end as well. They want to help you succeed with making your deck, because I mean, you are giving them business, and when you're doing a good job, they're doing a good job. So yeah, I think it's a great experience getting to work with them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You gain a lot of a lot of knowledge of the process and how the deck's made. So I think you can appreciate it better. The other decks that are, you know the process now and how hard it is, so you can kind of respect it a little bit more. The other decks as well. So you finish the Kickstarter. Is there any plans for another deck, or is this kind of just like a one-off thing? You've made your dream deck. Now you're going to move on, or have you decided yet?
I've been thinking about it. The goal first, before I even fully entertain those ideas, is to get this deck to backers, because this has definitely been a huge learning experience in terms of things I want to do better for next time, just how I want to go about things, and how to kind of streamline the process. For example, knowing now the correct format just for the deck to send to USPCC after. Just little things like that have been a big learning experience. So I definitely want to get it in people's hands before I fully start on another one. But yes, I would like to. We shall see exactly what that looks like. Daniel and I have been kind of throwing around that idea of like what it might look like, and like kind of partnering up again and doing something else. So yes, no details really yet.
TBD. Cool. So before we kind of close up talking about this topic, is there anything you want to just elaborate on about Viscid?
Yeah, I mean, Flux was just sort of an idea that I wanted to develop for a while, and I had sort of done iterations of wanting to make a brand in the past. And so I think for anyone wanting to make a brand or wanting to make a deck, keep working at it. And like, I encourage anyone like that to put in the effort for it, and go for it. Design the face cards, design a great back design, get feedback from it, be willing to take honest feedback from people. Because I worked on the design for this, except for the box, which Daniel did, all on my own. But it was with a lot of feedback from other people as well. It's not something that I just sort of jumped in on one and being able to do on my own. There were a lot of people that came behind me, a lot of people who just encouraged me from the very beginning. So find those people that can encourage you, and find people that you trust to give you good design feedback as well, because I think that's very important. And don't be humble enough to take that feedback as well is very important. So I think without that, I would not have been successful. So I'm very happy with the people that were willing to give me that, and when I asked for it. So yeah,
it's awesome. Congrats on it. I really do think the back design is pretty sweet, honestly. So really good job on that. Now, when you're talking about the marketing and the creation, how you had to kind of get the back and forth between other people, what I would like to talk about is Cardistry and how important it is to have a little bit of a community aspect to it, and having a group that you can bounce ideas off of. So I know just recently OPC started the Garden Hangout sessions, which, if you guys don't know, is little online web groups where you can bounce ideas and kind of meet. For magicians and for cardists, they have different groups, and Samuel is the leader of the Peppers, which I am actually a part of. Yeah, go Peppers. So if you want to just talk about, how that's been going, if you feel any fulfillment from doing this, and just talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, I think in general, community is so important to the creation process, and I think it's a big reason why a lot of people do cardistry in general. I know that that's the reason I have stuck with it, just because there is such a great community here. And I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of people in person So I live in North Carolina right now, so I've been able to meet up with Bear Cardistry because he is right across the border from me. I've been able to go to Cardistry Con, which was such a good experience, and there are some other people in the Southeast that we meet up once a year. And so yeah, I think community is great, and when you're able to do that in person, it's just so amazing to kind of nerd out with people that do the same thing as you. But for the majority of people, and most of the time, this is me as well. We don't know a lot of people in person who do cardistry. So that's where stuff like OPC Garden Hangouts really come in handy, because there's the Discord channel, and the name of it is eluding me right now. The other kind of open video chat server that is out there for cardists. I think Best Cardists Alive made a server for it. Anyway, not important. So there are some like sort of open call community things you can do, but I really like Garden Hangouts because that's a very tight knit group, and I think it's been really cool to kind of meet up with our group consistently every week. Because like I didn't know you before 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And like people like Austin, Hunter's been really awesome, and I mean just shout out to the rest of the gang. But it's really great to be able to do that. So yeah, with Garden Hangouts, with the kind of correlation to the creation process and feedback and having that community, I think as I was talking about sort of with like designing a deck and stuff, I think getting feedback on stuff is really great, because when you're doing cardistry alone, you can do some crazy stuff. But I think when you are willing to kind of harness a good community around you, and people who are willing to explore different concepts and ideas with you, that's when you're able to make some really, really great moves. And like it's also cool getting to learn sort of on and off different moves together. So like the move that Hunter taught us, Capsicum, is such a wild, one-handed, weird, spinny move that I would never have thought of on my own. But now with him, I'm able to sort of explore this new style of cardistry. So yeah, I love Garden Hangouts. I love talking with people about cardistry. And I also love just sort of the random discussions we're able to have too. I mean, we all do cardistry, that's our thing in common, but it's been fun sometimes to like talk about other random things, like hot sauce is a common theme in our group.
Yeah.
So yeah, cardistry is good, community is good.
Mix them together.
It's great.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can just say from experience, before this group, I hadn't met like any cardists like online or in person. Obviously I've had like this really long gap that I dropped out of cardistry just to focus on school and soccer. But being able to come back to it, and then people being so welcoming and being able to help me out has really helped me flourish, I feel like, and be a lot more creative than I used to be. I think just having a different set of eyes to look at something can really help, especially with the creation of moves. Because when you're making a move, you're only looking at it from like the top down, looking at it, but someone else is seeing it from a different point of view, just eye wise. So like them being able to tell you, hey, it looks a little bit smoother if you do it this way, at a different angle, it'll look smoother. It's just the little things that you wouldn't be able to notice is really awesome. So you have this group, you're leading it. How hard is it to kind of think of like relevant topics to talk about, or does the stuff usually flow?
Yeah, like are you talking about like the discussion questions kind of stuff and things along that nature?
getting to meet the people, like does how it, I found that I think we tend to get along pretty easy since we have a common interest. But um, as a group leader, does it ever feel like you have a responsibility to make sure things are going smoothly and like meaningful topics are being talked about?
Yeah, I think there's definitely that pressure in a sense. But I think there's enough common respect with everyone that it's not too difficult. And I think if you just make your main goal is to just love on other people, and doing that through cardistry is the way to do it. If that's the medium, then I think if that remains your main goal, then that discussion comes a lot easier, and it's a lot less pressure. And I think after, I mean, the first week, it started to get really natural. And I think we're at a good place where we have people of different levels of experience and um, different styles and different backgrounds. But I think, like you said, just the common interest of cardistry is a really good binding factor. And so it hasn't been there. Like there's like I said, there's the pressure there. Oh, I probably should keep the conversation in this sort of direction, or keep it flowing in this sort of way. Um, but it hasn't been difficult because I think we all want to connect with one another and just to share our passion with one another and build off of that. Um, and it's weird kind of coming at this from because like I'm an introvert and I think a lot of cardists are. Shout out to the extroverts though. So it's sort of weird trying to like think about like guiding the conversation in a certain way. But like I said, like I think if you're focusing on just like loving people and sharing this thing that you have a passion for, it's not uh, it's not as intimidating.
Yeah, if you go into cardistry with good intentions, I think uh, you'll be rewarded. I think we have it's such a niche group, especially cardistry, not just magic as well, but especially cardistry is such a niche group that like it's hard to be toxic or to not want to be a part of the group altogether, because we really got to stick together, and especially with there being such a long distance, a physical distance between cardists, it's very important to, in my opinion at least, have a community to bounce off of. So basically this whole tangent was to try to let people know that there are these groups, that if you're getting into cardistry, to seek them out, to ask people, and you'll find something, because there's a lot of it and it is very important, and it's a very good thing for the community, in my opinion.
And every once in a while there will be a little discussion cropping up about like how the community is toxic in a certain way. But I think groups like garden hangouts and good interactions like those are what are the answer to that. I think it's very easy to sit back and complain about how this person said this, or this sort of drama is cropping up with this person. But I think if you really want to be a part of the solution, just connecting with people is where that comes from. And I think garden hangouts are right now one of the best conduits for that.
I think like when we're all learning cardistry at different levels. Some people learn it faster, some people learn it slower, some people have been doing it for years, some people for months. So to try to break someone down because they're not as skilled or is taking them longer to learn something, it really doesn't do anybody good. So I mean, like you said, the way to combat it is just to be positive and in the community helping, and to really just be a nice beacon of light for other people, which I haven't experienced much toxicity in the community, just from my perspective. But I think there are really good people in the cardistry community that are really passionate, and it's great to be a part of the community.
Yeah, for sure.
So cool. So when you go to create a move or flourish, do you have any type of creative process that you go through? Is it all just kind of clicks at random points without you even really noticing it? Do you have a creative process or not?
Well, yes. Yes and no. I'm not quite as mathematical as Matthew Bedouin. Forgive me if I pronounced that wrong. But I'm not quite as loose as some people who may just go based off feel. I think there's a lot of credit to both of those. For me, I don't really learn a lot of other people's moves. Sometimes I will if I feel like I'm getting really stale. But I like to. There's sort of a flow to the rate that ideas come and go, if that makes sense at all. So, for example, I will get on the mindset of one move and be working on it for a while, and then gradually I will start working on another one based off of a mechanic in that original move. Or sometimes I will just be having a deck in my hands and remember a mechanic from when I first started Cardistry and begin to explore that more and flesh it out. Or sometimes I'll just randomly revisit a old move and see how I can make it better. So when it comes to creating individual moves, that's sort of like the overarching process, I guess. But when it comes to creating certain moves, I'll usually start with either a concept or a mechanic, and then think about how I can expand upon that and try to make something memorable from it. I'm rarely a moments-based move type person, so a lot of my moves don't have one heavy hitting moment. Instead, I generally tend to make moves that feel good to me, because ultimately I'm not really super motivated to make moves that are really shocking and impressive to other people. I love seeing those moves, but just personally, I don't have a lot of that motivation. Or maybe my creativity just doesn't go there as much. So I like moves that feel good, that I want to be doing, because a lot of cardistry I do also is I'm the main one seeing it. And then I like to make moves that, on the flip side, for other people, have a nice flow to watch. So when I record it, I want to make sure it fits my flow, to be consistent with what people are seeing, and maybe something people can enjoy. So I think that should be a lot of people's first goal, is to make something that they enjoy making. Because if you're just making things that other people will think are cool, that'll eventually run out. You'll eventually become tired of that. And at least for me, that tends to be the case. So then from there, I just keep working on the flow. And then if I can make improvements or find that I'm not able to get over a certain moment in a move flow-wise, I usually see either if I can get through it or if it's a problem with the mechanics. So if it's a problem with the mechanics, then I rework it until I can get a better move out of it. And then kind of my final step with that is I post all of my moves. I don't save any of them. So I post fairly often to my Instagram. Either I will make a minute-long sort of performance video, which I think more people should do more of. But if I don't do that, then I will do just like a single move video, which I've been doing some of those recently. Um, and I think there's definitely merit to saving moves. But for me, I like to be able to have that sort of record of my moves to go back and watch them. Because sometimes I'll find myself going back to 2017 and seeing a move that I was really proud of then, and I'll look back on it now and be like, "Oh, that wasn't great. Let's make it better." um, and so I think that's really valuable for me. Um, and then when you make a performance video, you're not having to struggle with coming up with which moves to do. And it's also really good practice for just getting your camera out or your phone or whatever you use and actually working on making better videos. Because I think it's very easy to hold things up and be like, I'm going to do one performance video a year, which if you can do that, that's awesome. For me, I like to get my camera out consistently and work on just making simple compositions, finding out what works video wise and what doesn't. Um, and then using those sort of minute long Instagram performance videos that I'll do sometimes as sort of a playground for different editing techniques or um, different ways of using certain types of music that I can then use in longer videos if I do a competition or if I just want to do a performance video on YouTube, or like the really weird editing I had in my Flux Viscid Deck trailer. So I think that's sort of like a very long-winded explanation of my not super specific but kind of specific process. I think just I can boil it down to when you're making a move, be intentional with your movements and how you're making it. Um, but make sure you're still making something that you enjoy doing and you're being consistent with recording what you're doing. Even if you're not posting it, if you do want to save your stuff for other people not to see, I think there's a lot of value to actually recording your moves as you do them, so you can remember what they are and so you can still practice using your camera, because I think that's a big part of cardistry.
Mm-hmm. I think Lars has alluded to this in the past when I've listened to interviews of him, but he's kind of alluded to the fact that like a move is never really complete. Like you might come back to it, or you might have something else that you add to it in the future. Mm-hmm. So I think having that archive of seeing what you've done and being able to go back, it could be a really helpful tool for some people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think anyone can argue with Lars. He's the goat.
It was insane last year.
Oh yeah.
So something I've been thinking about too is when people are saving all these moves for these big videos, is that these moves could have been posted like half a year ago, months ago, and then they could have been expanded upon by other people. So in a sense, it almost kind of hurts the community overall creatively when you release it as a big video. But at the same time, when you make that big video, it really punches. So I don't know if there's a correct way to show off the moves.
Yeah,
it's something I've been really struggling with personally at the moment, since I feel like I've had a lot of creativity come into me recently. So basically, I'm just trying to say, do it however you think is good if you're listening, and try to figure out what works for you, because it's probably going to be different for everybody.
That's so right.
Yeah, especially with the creative process, like it's different for everybody. Some people can just sit down and be like, I'm making a new move now. If I were to do that, you could hold a gun up to me and I wouldn't be able to figure something out. But randomly at 2:00, I'll be like, okay, I'll try this out, and then it works. Mm-hmm. So yeah, creativity is a hard thing to capture. So with uploading pretty frequently on Instagram, have you noticed like a positive that's pretty positive for the account?
Yeah, I mean, that just comes down to like social media analytics and stuff. But so I think the more consistent you are, the better results you're going to see. I don't super get wrapped up in kind of the engagement that I get. I obviously love it when, like, if a post gets like 200 likes or whatever, a certain amount of views. But I think I've been humbled enough to not be good for a few years to not have to worry about getting a certain amount of likes or whatever. But to speak to that, I think there is a lot of value in posting consistently. You'll see more results in that. So if your goal is to get your name out there more, or maybe just to let other people see more of your stuff, post consistently. Because unless you're a big name like Dealer's Grip or something like that, where people are going to consistently see your stuff no matter what, you will need to work on your engagement. But then for me, it's less about posting consistently and more about posting good stuff. So I'm not just going to post the same moves over and over again, because I wouldn't really want to see that, and I feel boring just posting the same moves over and over. But then also I want to make sure that I'm recording well, so that's why I break out my DSLR and microphone and set up everything and get good lighting. And I think people recognize that, and I think a lot of people would rather watch a intentionally set up video than one you kind of just recorded, like holding your phone up and recording a move. And I think if more people started putting intentionality into their stuff, into what they're recording, they would see more results if that's your goal. Again, that's not to demean lo-fi videos. I mean, if you're just looking to get your stuff out there, go for it. But if you want to see more engagement, put more engagement on your end, and you'll get that on the back end as well.
That's great. What you just said there, putting more engagement from yourself, and you'll get more back. So I have noticed your Instagram videos are they look nice. They're well lit. Usually they're at good angles. I think if you put in a little bit extra work, you're going to get more out of your video. So I see people like you and Shano, Joe Padet. I don't know.
Feldspach, I think that one.
Him, yeah, but yeah. I can't say his last name. Sorry if you're sorry. But their stuff, in my opinion, as well as yours, is edited very well, and the lighting and everything, and it's much more easy to watch. So I really appreciate that from these creators as well as yourself.
Yeah, I'm not going to try to put myself on Sean's or even Joe's level, but yeah, I definitely agree. Like, just seeing good videos is so great, and like it's so great to see that as compared to one that didn't have as much intention behind it.
Yeah, so like you can have a crazy move, but if it's not shot well, it won't have as much as of impact. You know, like Sean O said, like he's not in interviews. I've listened to a lot of his interviews, like that he's not the greatest cardist out there, but he knows how to market, and he knows how to show off his moves and have a style with it and stand out. So I think that's very important, especially if you're not as creative as some of these insane creators out there that we have in the community.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, there are a lot of the argument that then comes up is, well, not everyone has access to good equipment. And that's very true. So I'm not going to try to shame someone for not having a good DSLR setup or something. But like, you can definitely make good videos with low budget equipment. So if you just have a cell phone, you can still make great stuff. Get someone to hold it for you and go outside and record a move. You're going to get automatically better lighting, and you're going to get a better angle than just what you would be able to get just setting it up on a desk. Or if you're going to set it up on a desk, make sure you just compose the shot well. Or I'm just sort of reiterating the put more into it, you'll get more out of it thing. But I think don't sell yourself short. Like, even if you don't have access to good equipment, you can still make good stuff. And like, I'm not super wealthy. I don't have a great setup. I don't have like a Red camera or like even a really nice Sony or something. I have probably one of the cheapest 4K DSLRs you can get, and like a $10 tripod. It's like nothing special, but I just work with what I got and set up my shot how I want it. And I think if you put practice into that, you'll get better at it. Yeah. And if you like look at my older videos, like they're not good. Like I was using even a better camera in some ways than what I have now, like 3 years ago. And it was so bad. And I'm sure I'll probably look back at what I have now and think it's terrible in another 3 years. Um, but it's just keeping to work at it, no matter what you got, and you'll eventually get better.
Yeah. So the important thing is just getting started and working on improving whatever you're doing. So like, I think if you're just starting out in cardistry, even if like you just know how to do a charlier cut or a worm, find the best way to record that and do it. You know, some people might roll their eyes because they see it, but what's important is that you're getting that experience of learning how to edit, of how to compose a shot. It's stuff that I'm learning right now, um, trying to get better at to grow this channel. So I've already seen an vast improvement in what I've been able to do video wise just from getting started and doing it. So I think it's very important, even if you're not a good cardist, even if it's not an original move, just to get started on something and to start putting effort, and it'll pay off for you in the long run.
Hmm. The first step is the hardest.
Mm-hmm. Well, would you like to do a rapid question round?
Let's
Okay.
do it, bro.
All right. That was probably really loud. Sorry. I just
Yes,
clapped in front of the camera. Or not camera, the microphone. All right. Favorite deck of cards? This is
no. Okay. The Daydreamers deck by Paul Rabaya and Kevin Lee. Amazing.
I'll have to check that out later. Favorite music? Favorite musician?
Oh my gosh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Bronze Radio Return. Probably no one has heard of them, but you should check them out. They do like folk slash alternative rock stuff. My favorite music ever.
Um, USPCC or EPC? Is that a question?
USPCC, but I respect EPCC or whatever
Yeah.
because they make good stuff, work with great creators. I just prefer USPCC.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a? Did you start in Magic?
Yeah, I mean, no hate to magicians, but I'm glad I'm not one anymore. I did it for like 4 months or maybe more. I don't know, but I just like cardistry more.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Favorite restaurant?
I thought of Applebee's, but I like never go there. I don't know. I don't go out much. I usually make. I don't go out much. Oh my gosh. I usually just make my own food. Um, I don't know, bro. Let's say Applebee's.
Applebee's. All
Sure.
right. That's what comes to mind. Favorite card flourish that isn't original.
Oh gosh. Bro, you're breaking me right now. I don't really do a lot of unoriginal stuff.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that's right.
yeah. I mean, I love Squeeze. That one's great. Maybe even better than Squeeze is Squoze by Elliot Slevin because he's got mad flow, and I think if you can get anywhere near his flow with Squoze, great move. Beautiful.
All right, last one. Top three cardists besides yourself.
Whew. Okay, I think Paul Rabaya is legendary. Like, so slept on too. Like, he's big, but like, I think more people should know about him and follow him because he's amazing. Um, so he does really great stuff. Um, I think Oliver Sogard is probably my favorite of like the big name cardists.
Mm-hmm.
He's got some mad skills. Um, and I feel like I got to give a shout out to I think Bear Smith. Yeah, he's Bear Cardistry on Instagram. He's fairly popular, but he's like a bit younger and like he's got mad flow, mad creativity, just like whack stuff. Like he is so good, and like considering that he's like quite a bit fairly younger than me, and then like he's also still really mature, like really kind to everyone, makes great stuff. There, he's got it going on. Yeah.
I'll have to look him up later. Well, thank you for participating in the rapid round of questions. Thank you for being with me and talking about Visited Cards and your experience in the community. I think people will gain a lot out of this conversation. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, of course. It was fun getting to chat. I can't wait for our next chili pepper hangout.
Yeah, rock on.
Yeah.
All
and
right.
if anyone wants to like ask me more questions about getting started on a deck or needs feedback on a design or anything like that, like I'm happy to help out and share what knowledge I have. So
yeah, jump on that, guys. All right, thanks, Sam. I'll see you guys. All right.
Yeah. Bye.